Welcome to Amanda Hall Psychic here on the Gold Coast. It's an absolutely beautiful day here, I suppose, if you like cold, wet and windy, but we're not complaining. We need the rain here. So I hope you're having an absolutely awesome time wherever you are in this amazing globe of ours. It's always an interesting week astrologically, and this week's probably been no exception, but let's go on to the card of the week, because I think that's sort of a great place for us to start, because I think no matter where you are and no matter what the weather's doing and how you're feeling, I think it's always nice if we can brighten our day or brighten our week up with something positive, and I'm pleased to say this week's card is something positive. It's the Ace of Wands. Now, the Ace of Wands is new beginnings, birth, not always birth of children, but birth of ideas, new ideas and creations. And I'm really proud to talk about this card, because when we first started designing the Simply Tarot deck many, many moons ago now, this was actually the very, very first card that we designed in our original deck, which was going to be modern and up to the minute. And then the buyers hated it, so we had to go back and recreate the writer deck. But this was the very first card that we started with. And here in Australia, we have a tree called the frangipani bush, which comes from Hawaii, I believe. And it means birth and regeneration. And it's interesting because the frangipani that's actually on this card is out of my garden, in my front garden, and it's actually my hand that was the model in this card. So it's always been an extra special card to me, and it's always been a card, even long before we designed this deck, was one of my favourite tarot cards, because when I saw that, no matter how gloomy or how negative the reading might have been for me or the client, I always sort of felt that there was a ray of hope, that there was sort of like new opportunities, new things coming your way, and it was a time when we could really sort of start again. So that's why it's one of my favourite sort of cards. So this week we're going to be working with a candle called Destiny. Now, destiny is one of those words that everybody has a different interpretation of what destiny actually means to them. But in my interpretation, destiny is something that we can create. It is something that's within our control, but it's also something that's probably meant to happen in our lives no matter what. And it's sort of one of those unusual words. It's a bit like fate, karma, destiny. They're all pretty much the same sort of word. It depends on which one's your preference. But destiny is actually one of my favourite words. And I quite often think of, when I was creating the Simply Tarot deck, it was my destiny to do so. And I used to use that word a lot. And I can remember sort of suggesting to the publisher, why don't we call them destiny cards? And they said, no, but we're designing a tarot deck. And I said, yeah, but these are like destiny. You know, this is what a destiny is. That these are destined to me in the marketplace, and these are destined for people to love them and whatever. But anyway, they won and I didn't. They called it Simply Tarot, and I sort of still like the word destiny, and it's one of the things that I suppose that I taught a lot over my career about. Controlling your destiny or working with your destiny is something that we can all do. And I'm a firm believer in the power of positive thinking and being as positive as possible, even in the most negative situations. And I'm not saying I don't get negative from time to time, or don't, have an off day, or don't, burst into tears for some reason. What I'm saying is that 99% of my life I've tried to put a positive spin on whatever might be happening in my lives, and more importantly, what might be happening in my clients' lives or the people that I'm working with readings, because I feel it's our responsibility to not just be the person that delivers the bad news, but the person that delivers the news and then says, but hey, there is something positive out of all this. There is something to hang on to. There is a guiding light or a shining star, or your destiny's about to change. So working with the Destiny candle, 3 things we pop on a piece of paper that we might want to draw towards us, things that you're hoping to bring into your life as being destiny in your life. My current car is nicknamed Destiny because I believe she was my destiny to pick a particular colour car and a particular make. So Destiny's one of my favourite candles. If you watch the show regularly, you'll hear me often talk about, the candles with the 2 wicks in them. I like to burn one side and one the next day, but that's entirely your choice. And it's interesting, as we go into the cooler months, you can see here where the candle starts to sort of shrink away a little bit from the sides. It doesn't detract from the candle. It just means that, these are handmade. These are candles that are hand poured, and, we get little things that change in the atmosphere from time to time. So for those of you that don't want to work with a large candle, you can buy a box full of Destiny candles in our little gift box set, or you can have them made up with the 28 that we have in our range. So these ones will burn for about 15 minutes each. It's always 15 hours each, I beg your pardon. It's always a good practice to get into that never place a candle directly on the furniture. Always pop it underneath a coaster, and then that way then you protect the glass that the container it's in, because with the changes in temperature sometimes the glass can sort of crack. Not that I've had that happen very often. I probably only haven't had it happen 22 times in 20 years. But I believed then it was the atmospheric change, and I didn't have it on a coaster, so therefore it wasn't sort of insulated. So that's why I try and teach everybody, pop it underneath a cork coaster. It just enables that little bit more stability, and you have, the glass containers do get hot. The soy wax doesn't get hot, but the container gets hot, and we wouldn't want you to scorch your wonderful furniture. For those of you that don't want to work with a flame, you can buy a melt warmer down to your local department store or supermarket. Fairly inexpensive. 2 teaspoons of wax on the first day and then half a teaspoon thereafter. And again, working with the same principle, write your list of what you want to attract to you in your life as far as your destiny, and pop it under your melt warmer. You can leave your melt warmer going all day. So these are perfect for around the home or in the office where you don't wish to babysit the flame. That's absolutely a perfect way of working with the soy wax, and this week is all about destiny. So while we're talking about destiny, I thought it was interesting this week as I sort of did a little bit of research on the male Gemini that I was going to feature in our astrology section this week, and I believe this man had an amazing destiny, and I think he brought destiny to life in sort of many magical ways on the big screen. And we're talking about the one and only Gene Wilder. Now, Gene Wilder was the consummate performer. I think he had a magic about him that he was so alluring that we were all captivated when we saw him in something on the big screen. He started out his career very, very young. He was, he was a singer, a songwriter, he was a director, he was an actor. He just enjoyed working with all the genres that were, I suppose, entertainment. But for most people, they sort of associate Gene Wilder with one particular film. But I'm going to talk about another one first off. He wrote, he directed, and he starred in The Lady in Red. Now, that's a very famous song for few of us oldies know that song quite well, but he actually sort of wrote the film to that as well, and it was one of my favourite films. It probably wasn't the biggest box office hit that most people would have aimed for, but it's a very, very nice film. But for most of us, we probably remember, whether we were grown-ups or whether we were children, one of the most important films that I think that was ever made, and it's an amazing classic, and it's called Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory, and I think most of you will remember that sort of film because it was one of those perennial favourites, and my producers just put up on the screen that Chris de Burgh sang Lady in Red, and he certainly did an amazing job of that. But I was so surprised to find that Gene Wilder actually wrote the material for that film. So, but going back to Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory, I don't think there's a grown-up or a child alive that hasn't seen that film and been taken down the magical path of the picture, where everything was bright and positive and happy, and it was sort of his destiny and everybody's destiny in the film that everything was going to be amazing, and it was just put such a positive slant on childhood. And it's one of those, I don't think we make enough sort of films like that today, where we take children on a magical journey about, that you can lose yourself in the positivity and things can be happy and sweet and nice. We're too busy filling our children's heads full of action films and robots and things like that we've lost a little bit, I think, of teaching them about imagination and being sweet and nice. But anyway, that's my little topic for the day. So moving more along with the astrology of the week this week, we always have a little glimpse around the universe. We always have a little trip around there to see what's sort of actually happening. And this week, it is actually the time of the year where we're focusing on the energy of Cancer. Now, a lot of people sort of say to me, oh, I don't particularly like this time of the year, Amanda. I feel frumpy. I feel like I want to sit on the couch and eat chocolate and just watch movies. And it doesn't matter what part of the world you're in. I mean, here in the Southern Hemisphere, we can excuse that a little bit because we're in the middle of winter and not all of us want to venture outside in the cold and the wet and the wind and the the rain and the snow in some parts, and we use that as a little bit of an excuse to sort of stay home and sort of curl up on the couch with a good film, and maybe have a chocolate or two. But the thing is, I mean, for the Northern Hemisphere, where you guys should be out and enjoying the sunshine, you wonder why all of a sudden you feel this need to spend some time at home or spend some time with yourself. And it is because of the Cancerian time of the year. It's asking us to just sort of slow down a little bit, honour our emotions and listen to what's being shared with us. And that may mean some time by yourself or some time by the water, whether that be the ocean or the creek or the river or the stream, or just sitting by a wishing well. It's a time of contemplation and allowing our mind to sort of just be and see what messages come towards us. But also this year, for the time in Cancer, we also have two other planets that are sitting in the Cancerian energy at the moment. One is Mars, the planet of action. It's holding hands or conjunct Mercury, the planet of communication. So it's an interesting time because in as much as the Cancer sun is asking us to sort of honour ourselves, to be gentle with ourselves, to sort of sit, to allow our emotions and our instincts and our intuition to sort of come to the forefront and give us the messages and share with us the information that we may need and things that we need to look at, and not necessarily a time of necessarily releasing everything, but just sort of honouring that, nurturing ourselves and sort of feeling more at home with ourselves. And then right behind that, in comes these two big, powerful, hard-hitting planets. And I'm going to use the word hard-hitting here because Mars is coming in. Mars is sort of waving his big stick and sort of saying, I want action. I want things to happen now. What are you waiting for? Why aren't you doing anything? And when he's holding hands or conjunct Mercury, then the communication can become a little bit boisterous. It can become a little bit more forthright. It can become a little bit cranky. It can be sort of, well, why aren't you paying attention to me? I want to get my message across. So it's almost like conflicting sort of energy sitting in Cancer. We've got this nice, gentle, calming sort of Cancerian energy with the sun basking on the water. It's like the sun sharing its beautiful light over the lake, and it's sort of everything's twinkly and sparkly and calm, and then all of a sudden it's like in comes this angry sort of storm behind it with the clouds coming in saying, I was here first and I need more attention. So I think we just need to be aware of that we may experience both things and they may both come together at the same time. 1 minute everything's peaceful and calm, and then out of nowhere comes this aggressive, cranky sort of communication, and you think, where'd that come from? I wasn't expecting that. I didn't set that up, I'm sure, but it's come out of nowhere. So just be aware of that and maybe make a few allowances. If somebody's a little bit cranky, try and calm them down with some nice, comforting sort of energy. That may be the message here this week, that, that we can all take a little bit more responsibility with that. And for other people, it may just be the time when you need to slow down a little bit and give your body a little bit of a rest and, sort of say to yourself, well, it's okay, I can sit on the couch and watch a movie and I can have a little treat. And when we talk about a little treat of a little bit of chocolate, we're not talking about boxes of it or big bars of it. We're talking about a couple of pieces, not the whole thing. So I know that lots of Cancerians believe that chocolate is one of the 5 food groups, and it probably is for them because it is something that they sort of almost need daily in their diet. I'm not saying, and I'm an advocate for that, but I'm just saying it's something I've noticed over the years that they seem to be happier, little Cancerians, if they have a little bit of chocolate every day versus trying to control that urge to have that, as well as, fresh fruit and vegetables in their diet and lifestyle. So just something to be aware of that. And my producer's saying yes, because I know he's a Cancer, and coffee. Yeah, well, I can't go without the coffee. I think that goes with all signs. But, it's just something when you understand what is a natural thing for your star sign, then you learn to work with that energy instead of against it. But we're going to take our first caller, which is Ellie in Edinburgh in Scotland. Are you there, Ellie?
Hi, yeah.
How can I help you tonight, Ellie? Do you have a question I can work with, sweetie?
Yeah, I want to know if my partner loves me and wants a future with me.
Oh, okay, Ellie. I'm sorry to hear that you sort of have to ask that question, that you don't sort of, that your partner's not sort of giving you the signals that are very clear to you. It's an interesting energy I'm picking up there with your partner, Ellie. He's not what I'm going to say the most demonstrative of sort of men. He doesn't sort of, really show outward signs of affection, or he's one of these people, well, I've told you I loved you once or twice. Shouldn't that be enough? Like I've made the statement, you don't need me to keep repeating it. And that's an unfortunate thing, because we, I think, as human beings like to have those words expressed, and expressed often as part of being in a loving relationship. Look, I don't feel for 1 second that he has any intentions of walking away from you and not building a future with you. I just don't think he's the sort of man that's going to keep reaffirming this with you, Ellie. I know that he's had some very deep emotional issues that he's had to come to terms with in his life, and I want to go way back to his childhood, where I don't think he came from what I would call the most loving environment. I think he came from an environment where his physical needs were met, like there was shelter, there was food, there was, that sort of, religious upbringing, those sort of things, but there wasn't a lot of love. There wasn't a lot of love shared or spoken about or cuddled or those sort of things. So we've got a man here who was never really taught what it is to share emotion, what it is to share love. So he's struggled with that all his life. And I can honestly assure you he's been more loving and more outward with you than he's ever been with any other person on the planet. So in that way, I think you should feel quite honoured that, he's been able to be more outwardly loving with you than he has with anyone else. But I think it would really trouble him and hurt him to think that you don't feel loved and that you're questioning whether or not there's a future together. He would be really, really hurt if he knew that. So I think you've just got to sort of look around and be thankful for the little actions that he might show you, Ellie. The little things that he might do, like making you a cup of tea or something without you asking. That's him showing his love. He might not be able to walk up to you and take you in his arms and say, I absolutely love you and I'm happy I'm going to spend the rest of my life with you. That I don't think, I think that's something that he thinks about a lot, but he's not able to put it into words and expression. So I hope that's helped you, Ellie.
Yeah, it has. Thank you.
You're very, very welcome, because he really, truly does love you, and he's such a deep thinking man, and there's times there where I see sort of quite a frown on his face and you wonder where he's going. And I think a lot of times that's him sort of questioning, am I good enough for Ellie? Do I give her everything that she needs? It's sort of like he's searching his soul to make sure that he's meeting his obligations and showing you his love in the only way that he knows how. But he would be devastated if he thought you believed that he wasn't going to be around forever. He really would be.
It just upsets me because he's back in touch with his mum. She never brought him up or anything like that, but he's all for her. And like on her birthday, he bought her a present and stuff like that, whereas when it comes to me, he doesn't.
Yeah, but I suppose he doesn't feel that he needs to with you. He sort of feels he's given you all of himself. So, that's present enough. I mean, I can understand you being a little bit upset by that, but please, Ellie, understand that he truly, truly does love you and you are the only woman for him.
Right. He's going to stay with his mum for a week. I'm just a bit insecure. Is he coming back? He's going on Thursday. And maybe a week, maybe just under.
No, he will be coming back, Ellie. He's spending time with his mum. Who knows how long she's going to be on earth with us. So I suppose he feels that that's important. Anyway, Ellie, we have to leave it there, sweetie. I wish you every success with your relationship, and I know it will be perfectly fine. We're going to talk to Marlene in Los Angeles now in California. Are you there, Marlene?
Yes, I am.
How can I help you tonight, sweetie?
Oh, just I wanted to see if you see anything in the future as far as love or, career.
Okay. All right, Marlene. The first thing that they're showing me or sharing with me is that 2019 has been a year of change for you and endings. It's like I've really had to clear a lot of things out of my life. Is that how you've sort of been feeling? As if, I've cleared a lot of things out, I've let go of things, but now there's sort of like this emptiness there. I haven't had anything to replace it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's good because that means now that we've made way for new things to come into your life, particularly love. And it's interesting because they're showing me here someone from your past coming back to cross your path again, a man with dark hair. I couldn't see his face, so I can't really describe that to you, but I know it's somebody from your past. And I don't know that there was ever really a relationship there as such. I think there was definitely an attraction there between the two of you. But I feel that there wasn't the opportunity then because one or both of you were in a relationship to explore where that could have gone. Now, I see him crossing your path again in August. Now, I'm not necessarily going to say this is going to be the next new relationship for you. I'm just going to say to you, this needs to come back. We need to look at it. And you might take one look at him and think, oh, yuck, what did I ever see in you? And just look at that as a marker in time. Because directly behind that, I do actually feel you're going to meet somebody that's going to come in that will be the new love of your life. And it's like we've almost got to clear this one out of the road too, because he's come back into your mind as, I wonder what could have happened there if things had been different. And that's all it is. It's like a flick of a switch. It's sort of like I look at it, no thank you, goodbye, move on next. And the next one that comes in, I feel will be clear and free of title. There's no baggage. There's no current relationship there that he's just walked out of. He's ready to sort of go into a serious relationship if he meets the right person, which is you, which is great. And I feel very comfortable with that. And I feel that relationship will be very strong and very right from the very beginning, and it will grow very, very quickly into a very serious, committed relationship. The next thing that they're sort of showing me is that, yes, you mentioned about your career. Is it sort of, is there new possibilities or new opportunities there? There will be, but I'm not sure that it's going to be this year, Marlene. I know that you're sort of looking around, and I think that you're sort of preparing and, to sort of make a change, but I just don't know that anything crosses your path that is really what you're looking for to make that change just yet. I'm not saying don't look. I'm just saying I'm just not sure that there's something there just at the moment. If there is something, it'll be more towards the end of this year or the early part of next year. It doesn't seem to be right on the threshold at the moment. There's no point in making a change from one situation to another and then being in exactly the same situation in 3 months' time and thinking, well, that was a waste of time. All I've done is change the window dressing. You need something more that you can get your teeth into. But I did sort of feel that your intuition was getting much stronger, Marlene. So whatever you're doing there to strengthen your intuition, I want you to keep going, or your psychic ability, because it is certainly working and you are listening to what's being shared with you from your guides. And it's like that's the part that I think we need to focus on, is really sort of taking notice of the signs, the symbols, the messages, or whatever it is, whichever way it's being shown to you, whether it's sort of like something that you think of and then the next thing you see it on a street sign or on a billboard and you think, wow, okay, I just thought of that half an hour ago. That's a sign. It could be coming in a dream form. I think it's coming in many forms with you, Marlene. It's not just one area. It's like sort of showing you that messages can come from all different directions, and they want you to sort of be aware of that, because you are very highly tuned and there's more messages to be shared with you. But I just know your life is about to take off in an almighty big way, in a way that you couldn't imagine. So maybe it's probably best if we have the relationship come towards you first, get that nicely settled, and then you'll be ready to move into the new job. I hope that's helped you, Marlene.
Oh, that helped a lot, especially the psychic abilities I have. I dream a lot, and then I get numbers all the time and just a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And so do you know why it's like all this, like getting, my abilities are getting more attuned?
Because you've made a conscious decision that you're going to listen more, that you're more aware to it, that you're not sort of fighting it anymore, and that's a good thing, and because you're going with the flow, so to speak, then you're starting to notice it more, and it's like anything. The more we practice it, the stronger it becomes. So if you're seeing numbers and that's what you're drawn to, then maybe you need to look at sort of taking up the study of numerology or astrology or something along those lines that will enhance that will enable that to become even stronger. But only go to what you're drawn to, Marlene. Don't force yourself into something just because that's what I've suggested. Unless that really feels right, don't go that way. But I suggested that because you said of the numbers and things like that are coming to you very strongly. And with dreams, try and write them down. Write down how you felt, whether there was anything peculiar or unusual in the dream, and in a journal. And then you can go back and look at it in a few months' time and know that you've had answers there. Anyway, Marlene, that's where we've got to leave it because we're about to come to the end of the show.
I'd
like to take this opportunity
Amanda.
to thank you. You're very welcome, sweetie. I'd like to take this opportunity to wish everybody an amazing week. Whatever you're doing around this amazing planet of ours, make sure that you're kind to yourself, kind to other people, but don't forget to take the time to nurture yourself a little bit, maybe with a good film or some Netflix or something like that, and a little bit of chocky or a glass of wine, a cup of coffee on the couch. Won't do any of us any harm to have that little bit of a holiday on the couch watching a great film. Until next week, bye for now.